sort of, we want to understand the world better. And I'm aware of, actually I might have brought this up as well in in uh, in another video about this thing where it was a scientific experiment that our reality is sort of, it's only, or not only, but it's it's only an amalgamation, like an interpretation of the actual reality. Like, the assumption being there's way more to reality than what we can perceive, and we decide to perceive certain parts of reality that are important for our survival. And they had like this test with water that I don't remember how it went, and I hope perhaps I can find it and I can link it. If I can't find it, it's not linked. But yeah, it was very interesting because that sort of, that gives you a hint that there's, like, we really know very little, and it's also kind of, it's not depressing, I think, to hear that. It's very, mysterious. It gets my imagination going. So, but still, when I say truth, I mean, yeah, whatever we base reality on is still like, there's something there that's still like, we can't grasp it all, but we grasp as much as we can. We sure try, we sure try. And we sort of, this will always keep going. We will try to, get to the next frontier, so to speak, if you're a Star Trek fan, or, what, but actually that's a good analogy to that, this frontier thing with Star Trek. I actually never really watched it, but a couple of episodes really struck me because they were written very well, like the older ones, or I don't want to get into it with the Trekkie fans. You know what it is, they get crazy about this stuff. But yeah, that makes a good point of, like, there's this thing that we do strive for, to understand more, to make our world a more truthful world, and our own. I mean, that's also, our nature. Isn't that such a great overlap, that our nature is both us and the world that we live in, like everything around us? That's so beautiful, I think, because I think it's true. I saw this clip on YouTube from Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle, Tollo, and it was pretty cool. He said, like, he's an author and like speaker, I guess, philosopher, you could say. And he was talking about. Oh yeah, he wanted to in one of his books, he wanted to say, for some reason, he had like a passage and a sentence that said, and at the middle of the universe is a black hole. For some reason, I don't know what the why but what the connection was. But anyway, that he wanted to write this some sort of analogy, whatever, and his publisher said, no, you can't, you shouldn't, because that's not scientifically. That people will ask you, where do you get this from, and they'll fact check you, and then they say, oh, he's a weird guy that makes stuff like that up, and doesn't check his sources. What a loser, So he took it out because, okay, well, not a big deal. I rephrase it or something. But later, scientists actually came up with that theory or hypothesis. I still have difficulty getting the two. I mix those two up. Anyway, so yeah, and he kind of he smiled at that because they believe this now to be true, that at the center of each universe is a black hole. It makes sense in some kind of, don't ask me why. But for this being. Just there's no self in the sense of like certain characteristics, or there's just this sort of bull that wants to know more, or I don't know how he explained it. I don't know how he exactly got to that, but I still think that's a great example of this truth seeking in oneself. There's actually another guy that did that, and it's a bit dramatic. Did you ever hear of Giordano Bruno? G-O-I, Giordano Bruno. Anyway, maybe I'll link this too. No, I'll link this to. I get mixed up probably. But anyway, yeah, Giordano Bruno was also a philosopher and hermeticist in the Renaissance times, and he sadly got burned alive. That's not funny, actually. When I read that in the book, I cried. I mean, I knew he died like that, but I still thought, what a great philosopher. And he probably even influenced William Shakespeare at the time. There's a connection with one of the characters in one of Shakespeare's plays that suggests that Shakespeare perhaps listened to some of his lectures or public, speaking joints, whatever. And this guy said stuff that was years ahead of the scientific advancements of the time, and that's what got him on the, that's what got him mixed up with the Inquisition, I think, basically, or with the Inquisition. It's so sad. It's so stupid too. Like, no, this can't be true. It can't be true that, like, some of the things he said was that every star up there is a sun. Like, are you crazy? What a crazy dude, burn him. And years ahead, and he also did it like this Eckhart Tolle dude did it. He just looked inside and thought about, or he reflected on, like, what are these lights? And look, our sun is pretty bright, and if you read some of his stuff, it's beautiful to see his thought process. He does it just with language and with logic within that language, and with how that resonates with him. Like, that feels right. Okay, I'm getting somewhere. I think that's an amazing process. I very much, I resonate with that. I always, I already alluded to that in another video, that I write, so that's a process. I resonate with that. I get, I'm not saying, no, I am saying, it is the same, this sort of flow thing, when you're just in it and what you discover, Yeah, but I talked about that. And you discover stuff that surprises you, that you didn't know, but it's sort of like you get a certain very specific, beautiful feeling of like, yeah, that's true. And no, but it's sometimes you can't know, like you can't know, like the scientists now believe to know, or I think they know by now, that there's a black hole at the center of the universe. Like, you can't know it like that. You can't calculate your way through that, but you can sort of talk and feel. I think that's pretty amazing. And I guess that's what I mean by truth. Like this, there is a feeling. There's something, and I'm not saying it's. Sometimes you make mistakes, and we're human. We can believe stupid stuff sometimes, and think like, no, of course that's right. But there's still, every time I get like, I realize something, or I relearn something, or I make a mistake and I realize it was a mistake. mistake. It's still like this. Yeah, like somewhere I knew, but I was too proud or too whatever, too emotionally attached. Whatever. I don't emotionally